points, tied with New England and New York for first place, but Sporting KC the game in hand on New England, 2 games in hand on New York. So in essence, Sporting KC free and clear in first place at the top of the Eastern Conference. It was a warm day here at Sporting Park. No wind at all moving through the stadium made it feel even warmer than it really was. But Sporting KC did not look fatigued at any point today. And even though Columbus did have a stage and a stretch during the second half where they were really dangerous and creating chance after chance, Sporting KC got the first goal. Eric Kronberg was playing great all day in net. And then Sporting KC got the capper in the 95th minute. So 2-0 win. Beautiful day at Sporting Park. Another sellout. We had the ring presentation ceremony pregame. It's one of those unforgettable games. We've had a lot of them here in Kansas City, Kansas. But a great result for Sporting KC. A 2-0 win over Columbus. We'll take your calls today. 913-3810. 810 is the number if you'd like to join us. Again, 913-3810. 810. Again, Sporting KC wins 2-0 over the Columbus Crew, and you're listening to the Final Whistle postgame show here on Sports Radio 810. And, of course, Sporting KC gets started in the 10th minute with a goal from Jacob Peterson, a guy that's gotten a lot of criticism on the airwaves and here on the Final Whistle postgame show. A guy that usually can work so hard that he creates 1 to 2 chances, good chances for himself each game. But for the last 12 months or so, those chances haven't found the back of the net. So Jacob Peterson has gotten a lot of criticism. The fans like him because he's a hard worker. He creates chances. But I think the fans' frustration was he wasn't finishing those chances. Well, Jacob Peterson hammered home a close-range shot after Apollo Nagamura's shot was blocked. And that gave Sporting KC the advantage in the 10th minute. Again, Columbus, lots of chances in the second half. Unable to find the back of the net, and great saves by Eric Kronberg. And then, as I mentioned, 95th minute, Claudio Bieler with the goal. Suni Sad's hustle really created the chance. Graham Zusi unselfishly sent it across. Claudio Bieler tapped it in. It was the kind of finish you might see at a youth soccer field. It was about the easiest of Claudio Bieler's career. That goal makes it 2-0. That's the final score. And even though it was nerve-wracking for a big chunk of the second half, at the end of the day, Sporting KC gets the win, and they move into first place in the Eastern Conference. 913-3810. 810 is the number. Again, 913-3810. 810. Now joined by Mr. Andy Edwards, who you heard on the call today. Overall, Andy, I know it was a warm day here at Sporting Park. Columbus was very dangerous for portions of the second half, but at the end of the day, it's a very nice win. Sporting KC in first place with games in hand. We always talk about defending the home field. It's been a bit of a weakness for Sporting, but today in a huge game, national TV against a first-place team, they played pretty well, and it's a good result.
Well, I think the big advantage Sporting Kansas City had in this game was the fact they were going up against an opponent that wanted to play soccer against them. They didn't want to come in here and sit defensive, and really their goal being a 0-0 draw. It wasn't like that today, and so the Columbus Crew came into this game today leading the league in average possession percentage per game. They were over 57%, second in the league, just behind them Sporting Kansas City. So these were the top 2 teams in the league. Neither one of them is going to sit back and really just try and defend and counterattack you all day. And Sporting Kansas City, as we've seen over the last couple of years, they're so much better against teams that want to play actual soccer because they have more talented players. They have a deeper team as well. And we saw that on display today with the likes of Aurelian Collin being out, being suspended. Lawrence Olam steps in his place. Sal Zizzo out. Jacob Peterson steps into his place. He scores the game-winning goal. So not only a good performance and a controlling performance and a dominant performance in Sporting Kansas City, but it was a deep one as well. And guys that don't always, aren't always the focal point of the team, of analysis of the attack, of whatever. They were the ones that I thought Lawrence Olam in this game was just absolutely fantastic. Jairo Arrieta had 0 chances all game long. That was his guy. It was his duty to win the ball out of the air. He filled the Collin role very well without trying to be Aurelian Collin and do all the big flashy things that Aurelian Collin does. So Lawrence Olam, for me, just stepped in so seamlessly, like he's been playing back there all season long, and really at times today marshaled the defense, and that's with Matt Beasler, the captain. Matt Beasler, the hometown guy, right next to him.
Let's talk about Eric Kronberg. I think if you're going to name the star of the game, I think a lot of people would point to Crony. One of his best games since he took over for Jimmy Nielsen. Early on, 31st minute, Columbus with a near goal. Eric Kronberg makes that great save with the ball right at his feet on the goal line. And in the second half, Columbus was very dangerous from about the 60th minute on, they kept getting chance after chance, and Erik Kronberg had a couple routine saves and had a couple more really nice saves, including in the 65th minute. He made a diving save, and the whole stadium started chanting his name. It was a cool moment. And Erik Kronberg, we've talked about it, maybe he's not as safe as Jimmy Nielsen, right? He'll take more chances, but he's a lot better athlete. And today, I thought he played a perfect game. He was great.
This is going to be life with Erik Kronberg as the number one. Last week, you can make a case, and I'm not fully in the camp that says, well, Erik Kronberg cost Sporting Kansas City that game because it's a difficult save that he had to make. Then you're going to get things like we saw today, where he is coming out, he's punching balls out of the air, he's catching balls on crosses and corner kicks and free kicks that Jimmy Nielsen would have never been off his line for. That's a fifth defender in there, except, by the way, he's the guy that can use his hands, and so he's completely killing off attacks when he comes out and wins the ball for himself like that. And the save that he made on the header by Gonzalez, the quickness, the agility, the frame of mind to get the feet together like that. And he's not only on the goal line, his body is falling backwards over the goal line. His feet just happen to be right above the goal line. He's able to stop that ball right there, and then Sesanovic, somebody comes over and clears it out of there. Erik Kronberg is and I've said this after both of his bad games this season, when people have said, well, we need to get Greenbaum in there, we should have never let Jimmy retire. He's going to be fine. He's a good goalkeeper. You're just going to have, every now and then there's going to be a game where you say, oh man, he had a play, and if he's going to put in performances like he did today and like he did a couple of weeks ago against Real Salt Lake as well, then you need to be fine with that.
I had one of my friends from Columbia was in town for his first game of the season today, and he was asking me, what do you think about Kronberg? And I said pretty much what you said. I said, I like him a lot. There'll be a play here and there where you wonder what's he doing, but he makes so many other plays that we wouldn't have seen made in the past. Of course, the other thing I said to my friend is Jacob Peterson starting, and he gets a couple chances every game, and he never puts them in the back of the net. And then in the 10th minute, Jacob Peterson absolutely hammers the ball in the back of the net. And I do feel good for him. I mean, say whatever you want about Jacob Peterson. He's a guy that works his ass off, always puts himself in position to get a good chance or two each game. And it was important that he buried that with the momentum early on. It was a good finish.
Well, the question with Jacob Peterson as a starting forward is always going to be the final product. Can he put that, as you said, that one, maybe two chances a game away? Or when he's out wide on the ball, can he pick out the good cross? And can he play the good cross and find someone inside the box? Well, his chance came very early tonight, or this afternoon, and he absolutely put it away. And it was a great finish. It was a great play all around, first of all. And Callum and I talked about this during the game. It started with Matt Beasler back inside his own half with a 50-yard diagonal ball to Graham Zusi. He draws a couple defenders from the midfield with a slightly diagonal run. Chance Myers overlaps down the right. He plays it out to him. Myers puts in a good cross, finds Nagamura. His shot's blocked, and then it just falls to Peterson. And what Peterson did so well on that play, he didn't get over-anxious. He didn't, he kept control of himself physically and mentally. He didn't get overexcited with it and lash at it and hit it 28 feet up in the air or 20 feet wide. He got over the ball. He stayed on top of it, hit it down, hit it low, hit it hard, and hit it to the near post. There was no way Steve Clark, who was on the other side of the goal mouth defending the original cross, was going to get to that one. So great job by him. And that's the thing is, and we've talked about Jacob Peterson. Is he good enough to be a regular starter? We've talked about it a lot. If he can put that chance away consistently, then we have no argument. We have no reason to say, well, why is he in the lineup? Because we saw multiple examples today of the defensive shift that he put in, especially early part of the second half when Dominic Oduro came on for the Columbus Crew. He was down Jacob Peterson's defensive side, and Jacob Peterson tracking back as really only Jacob Peterson can do. Really snuffed out a couple of counterattacks that Oduro otherwise, they would have been very, very dangerous.
To be honest, I thought when Jacob Peterson first came to Sporting KC, it was around this time of year. It was like May or June,
yeah.
And Sporting KC was down several strikers. And he made 2, 3, 4, whatever it was. He made a handful of goals like that. And it
First
seemed like,
caller, Allen.
He was finishing early in his career at Sporting. He really hasn't for about 12 months or so. But I did feel good for him today. It was a great goal to get the momentum early on. And then Claudio Bieler, before you joined, I mentioned that's one I might see at the youth soccer fields. That's about the easiest goal of his career, and great hustle by Suni Saad to set that up.
Yeah, and I wanted to, and I said this during the game right after the goal, but I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to hear it. The selflessness on that play from Graham Zusi. is unrivaled. He has a chance to try and chip Steve Clark, go for the spectacular goal, and you wouldn't fault him whatsoever for doing so. You know, Clark had come out, he had really rushed him out, and there was a definite lane for that kind of a shot from Graham Zusi. But he sees Claudio Bieler, who to that point had not scored a goal this entire season. Sometimes that's all you need, just a little bit of confidence. It'll get a little bit of that pressure and the weight off your back, and just makes the simplest play, just dinks it up over the top of the keeper to Bieler, and then he's got all day. Just so impressed with Graham Zusi and his willingness to give up, an opportunity for himself that you couldn't have said, well, why did you take that shot if he had, and just so easily give it up to Claudio Bieler. And it's great for Bieler. Hopefully, the course of the 34-game season, that signals a bit of a turning point, and helps him with May coming. There's 7 games this month, by the way, in MLS play. He's going to play some games. You need him to have that confidence, that feeling that every time he steps out on the field, he's going to find the back of the net.
For me, I love Bieler. I know he can score in this league, but I thought Dwyer again had a good game. I think he's the kind of guy that's not going to give up that starting position most of the time. Like you said, there's lots of games. Bieler will get his starts. But Dwyer was good again. And he's got the bull in the china shop with some real finishing ability, too. I mean, he plowed into the Columbus keeper twice. He drew a yellow card walking off the field. I'm wondering what he may have said on that play.
He didn't say anything. He was just walking off slow. And Tony Chani, and this goes back to the way that he plays. He's a pest out on the field.
Yep.
And I think not only, in terms of the game and everything that frustrates you, but I think mentally and emotionally he gets under your skin a little bit. And so that guy that's been out there pestering everyone for 88 minutes to that point, he's walking off the field slow, and Tony Chani wants him to get the heck off so they can get the game going. They're chasing the equalizer. That causes you to lose your head. And so, it's like you're not going to start a guy or play a guy because he can make other guys angry.
Right.
But, the pest mentality of Dom Dwyer as a player, he put in such a shift. I don't want to call it defensively. I just want to call it, I don't know what I want to call it. The ball is played back to the goalkeeper all afternoon long, and Dom Dwyer is making 50-yard sprints. I mean, full-speed sprints to close him down. And what that does, as I said, leading possession team in Major League Soccer, the Columbus Crew. Steve Clark can't play it out of the back. He has to hit it up to the midfield line, and then it's a hope and pray, and it's all about the second ball. So that completely, it starts with him, and this is the cliche, we defend from the front with 11 men, blah, blah, blah. But it really was, and that completely altered the game.
Well, to be honest, he's got that Jacob Peterson mentality with more athleticism, more speed, and more skill. No offense to Jacob Peterson, but, he has that work rate, and I think that's one of the reasons Dom Dwyer is such a fan favorite. 913-381-810, the number. 913-381-810. And Alan is up first this afternoon on the Final Whistle. What's going on, Alan?
I was so impressed with their game plan and how much they stuck to it. They had slow build-up from the back. They didn't just try to quickly move the ball because they know how fast Columbus is. And this shows how much more experienced they are compared to 3 years ago, where they would expose themselves 4 or 5 times and give up 3 to 4 goals in this game.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Alan. Overall, I thought Sporting KC, I thought the game plan was good. We hear so much about Columbus and Oduro and their speed. I thought Sporting KC did a great job. Let's hear from the man in charge, Peter Vermees, his post-game press conference right now.
Sporting KC did a great job.
All right, we're having some technical difficulties there. Sorry about that. We'll try to get hooked up with Peter Vermees in the post-game press conference. But, to Alan's point, it was a very good performance. And Columbus's speed, it really wasn't much of a factor today.
Well, and I agree.
We got a player, if you want to go to him, Eric. I forget his last name, Eric.
That sounds good. And it sounds like we have a special guest actually on the phones right now. I believe this would be Eric Kronberg. Is that correct, sir?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, thanks for the time, Eric, and congrats on a great game. Awesome performance out there. You saw a lot of shots, but you made a bunch of big saves. I'm sure you're pleased with your performance and the team overall.
Absolutely. It was great to get those 2 goals. The one at the end just kind of sealed the deal, and obviously the defense played fantastic in front of me to preserve a shutout. So hats off to the guys in front of me.
The defense great for 90 minutes today, Eric, but the biggest moment of the game, at least in terms of the Crew going forward, was that header from Giancarlo Gonzalez. You make the save right on the goal line as you're falling back into the mouth of the goal. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, it was just we kind of worked on those kind of situations this week, getting across my goal quick and getting low, and I think it really paid off. So
it's kind of the drill. You get across the goal and trying to react to something, and luckily I got a hand to it.
Talk to us about Lawrence Olam's performance today with Aurelian Collin out and Iko Para out for the season. Olam had to step into the starting lineup, and we know he's played some at center back, but the last couple years he's played more as a defensive midfielder. We thought he had a very nice game today, and it didn't seem like you guys missed a beat with him sliding in there to Collin's spot.
Absolutely. Lawrence has played some center back a couple years ago, but he's definitely, kind of a holding mid now. But it's great that he can step into that position and play center back when we need him, because we definitely need him tonight. And we definitely didn't lose a step. He played fantastic. He was in the right spot. He was talking and moved and listening. So credit to him, man. I'm really proud of him today.
Eric, how much of the game plan for you guys was we're going to press really, really high, whether it's the back line or the opposing goalkeeper, and not let them play the ball out of the back? Because this coming into this game is the leading possession team in Major League Soccer. The Crew are. You guys just behind them, and they did the same to you as well.
Yeah, I think in the first half there was a lot of high pressure, a lot of possession, and it was kind of a battle. Second half, I think, with the weather being warmer than we're used to, the game slowed down and opened up a little bit. But luckily, I think we held our shape really well, and we preserved the win.
Talk to us about that weather. I was wondering if fatigue was an issue at all for either side. I mean, clearly you guys didn't fall apart down the home stretch or anything like that, but it was 85. There was no wind at all in the stadium. How much of a factor do you think that played as the game went on?
A little bit of a factor. I think we kind of the game went as it went. I think all 22 players kind of felt the weather, so there wasn't one team, really pushing the other team. So the weather, it played a factor. I think the high pressure in the first half of both teams slowed the game down in the second half, but we kept our shape and we played well.
Eric, I know all the fans are very happy for you. You've waited a long time for the opportunity to be the starter. You've really taken advantage of it. And my last question for you is just, where you feel you're at sitting here today, compared to that first start of the season. How much more comfortable are you knowing you're that fixture in net now, and where do you feel like you're at this point in the season?
I feel like I'm getting better every game. I'm just getting more and more comfortable with the back line and the team playing in front of me. Every game that I play, I just feel like I'm feeling more and more comfortable, and I'm definitely feeling like the team is kind of fitting into mid-season form, and I think we're playing well together.
All right, Eric. Hey, thanks for the time, man. Congrats on a great win.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
By the way, one of my favorite plays of the game, when the Columbus forward sprinting straight at him, and he just broke his ankles by cutting back. A guy that's so confident with his feet is Erik Kronberg, and that was a pretty good one, too.
Well, that was just kind of the way this game went, and I asked him about it. He pointed out that both teams were doing it to each other. They were pressing the goalkeepers. Both goalkeepers in this game very good with the ball at their feet and playing it out and picking out a pass, and neither team was letting the other side do that. And so Erik Kronberg, just the awareness and the skill and everything that goes into that, and the confidence is what a goalkeeper doesn't try that kind of a play if he feels like his confidence is shattered. And to bounce back from again a questionable play last week against the New England Revolution, which ends with Sporting Kansas City losing 2-0, to quickly have that kind of confidence just the next week again, it says I think a lot about the mental, the psyche of Erik Kronberg, and as a leader and a guy marshaling that back line, you can absolutely feel safe with him being the person, one, taking over Jimmy Nelson's spot, and two, being that real leader back there.
The other thing I noticed about him, we're talking about how good he is with his feet. Most goal kicks, the goalie just boots it up the field, the middle of the field. But Kronberg 3 or 4 times in a row, at an angle, within 5 to 10 feet of the left sideline, right to his guy's head. It's headed down the field. Sporting has a chance to get across. Where do you think, I know you follow the league real closely, where do you feel like he ranks in terms of goalkeepers in the league with his feet? Because he's so confident, like you said. I'd have to think he's one of the top 3 or 4 guys as far as using his feet and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like pretty much everything else goalkeeping-wise in Major League Soccer, I think Nick Rimondo's the gold standard, and everybody's striving to be Nick Rimondo. But yeah, Erik Kronberg definitely top 2 or 3. Steve Clark, the guy we saw today for the Crew, he's very, very good as well, and it fits the style and the philosophy of each team to have someone that can play it out of the back. It's another soccer player back there. It's not just a goalkeeper. These guys spend so much time working on the goalkeeping and the saving and the catching and stuff, but you can tell the hours and hours are put into playing the ball out of the back, just feeling comfortable with the ball there, not panicking once you have the ball at your feet, and it paid off.
913-381-810, the number if you'd like to join us. Again, 913-381-810. Sporting KC wins 2-0 today against Columbus at Sporting Park. They move back into first place in the Eastern Conference. And you're listening to the Final Whistle postgame show here on Sports Radio 810. Just overall, Andy, your thoughts on Columbus and their performance. This is a team that's trying to get to that top seed in the East, trying to raise their game to the level of Sporting KC and be a serious contender for the Eastern Conference title. How did you think they fared in a big statement game for them here on national TV?
Well, I was just as impressed with the Crew today in a 2-0 loss as I was with them the first week of the season, a 3-0 victory over DC United. They have a serious belief in their style and their philosophy, and it's just like Sporting. By the way, the teams are almost identical in the style and the way they want to play, some of the personnel that they have as well. But even when they give up a goal 10 minutes into the game, they don't go away from what they believe in and what the style is that they think the right way to play, the way they think is the best way to give themselves an opportunity to win. And so they stuck to that. They had to grind, I think, at times today because Sporting Kansas City did such a good job of keeping possession for prolonged periods. They would continually string together 8, 10, 12 passes, whereas the Crew were struggling to find 4, 5, 6 in a row. And so they were really taken out of their game. But again, they stuck with that style. And I think over the course of a 34-game season, that's going to pay huge dividends if you really believe in what you're doing. And they didn't go away from it. So, I'm so impressed with them. And I think, look, I know New England's second in the East right now, Sporting Kansas City ahead on goal differential. I think Sporting and Columbus, the two teams we saw here today, are head and shoulders above everybody else in the Eastern Conference. I think everybody else is a little bit too inconsistent in these two. Even today, again, win-losing, the Crew were impressive at times. They were admirable as well. And it's something we saw with Sporting Kansas City in 2011. They had that belief. They struggled early on, but they stuck with it, and they kept playing the same soccer. And eventually, everything came, and it turned good.
All right, we're due for a break. When we come back, we'll keep taking your phone calls. 913-381-810 is the number if you'd like to join us. Again, 913-381-810. Sporting KC wins 2-0 today over the Columbus Crew. And you're listening to the Final Whistle postgame show here on Sports Radio 810.
When your sink's stopped up or you're showering in ankle-deep water, there's only one thing to do.
Better call Bob.
Better call Bob.
Better call Bob.
Call Bob Hamilton Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Rootering anytime.
Hi, I'm Bob Hamilton. There are lots of reasons why your drains are clogged or running slow. Good news is, we fixed them all. Better call Bob.
Call Bob at 913-8884-BOB to get your main drain line cleared for only $99. Better call Bob. Main drain line rootering, now only $99. Call Bob Hamilton Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Rootering. Problem solved.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. Bob Hamilton Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Rootering. Problem solved. 913-8884-BOB. Online at bobhamiltonplumbing.com. To get your main drain line cleared for only $99, better call Bob. 913-8884-202. That's 913-8884-BOB.
8884-BOB when you want it hassle-free.
Members of the Laborers Union of Western Missouri and Kansas are hardworking men and women earning livable wages with health care and retirement benefits. Their purchases help circulate money throughout the community and create jobs for other individuals. Union members are not a drain on our economy. Rather, they help boost it and help sustain the middle class in America. The Laborers Union of Western Missouri and Kansas and the contractors who hire them are proud of the strong working relationships they forged more than 100 years ago. This message is brought to you by the Western Missouri and Kansas Laborers District Council.
Share fresh-picked flavors at P.F. Chang's with our new chef seasonal menus, featuring inventive new dishes and handcrafted cocktails, like our new Pink Cherry Cosmo. Fall in love with our lemongrass chicken spring rolls, inspired from Vietnamese street fare. Or try our Asian twist on carnitas with the sweet and spicy Chino Latino pork, wok-fired and served with vibrant pineapple salsa. Your local P.F. Chang's is the perfect place to celebrate Mom. Make your Mother's Day reservations online at pfchangs.com. See you soon.
Royals fans, this season Miller Lite, the original light beer, wants to give you and your friends Miller time with the Royals and an upcoming home game. You can win an All-Star Suite for $15, an autographed Royals jersey, a chance to throw out the ceremonial first pitch, and on-field access to watch pregame batting practice, all courtesy of Miller Lite. Visit the Miller Lite display at your local Hy-Vee store or stop by any Kansas City Metro 54th Street Grill and Bar location.
Must be 21 years of age or older and a legal resident of Kansas or Missouri to participate. Food extends on 5514. Great beer, great responsibility. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
The Battery, modern-day fire, powering everything from remote-control cars to the car in your garage. So when your car battery is reaching the end of the line, or you're wondering whether it is, stop by Advance Auto Parts. We'll test your old one for you, free of charge. And if you purchase an
30 seconds. You there?
Yep.
All right.
Back to the garage.
Most vehicles, most locations. See store for details. Live coverage of the NFL Draft is coming
Any
to
calls,
Sports
Big
Radio
Russ?
810.
No calls.
Perfect.
There are enough question marks that you want to go with any one of these elite players over a Bridgewater.
Tune in to hear the NFL Draft
Or
and
Reynolds.
live reaction from
Rough life for
Arrowhead
Reynolds.
after every Chiefs selection.
The Kansas City Chiefs select
Your home for the National Football League. Sports Radio 810. WHB.
Brought to you by Metcalf Bank, the official bank of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Final Whistle postgame show here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm Dave Borchard alongside Andy Edwards. Sporting KC wins 2-0 today over the Columbus Crew. They're back into first place in the Eastern Conference. And we're taking your calls if you want to join us. 913-3810810 is the number again. 913-3810810. You know, I was sitting there in the second half, Andy. I don't know if you were feeling this way, but it seemed like the kind of game Sporting KC, even though we had the lead, I had the feeling it was not going to be a win because, I mean, Columbus took over for a period in the second half, but even before that, Sporting KC had a couple very good chances that they did not convert. Sesanovic behind the defense in the 49th minute, and the shot was saved at point-blank range. In the 49th minute, Dom Dwyer, a sliding shot into the side netting. And, you know, you always feel in those close games and tight games, the team that doesn't take advantage of their chances, they live to regret it a lot of times. And then when Columbus started getting the momentum, and they really had it for much of the second half, it just didn't seem like things were going to end well. But I give credit to Sporting KC. They fought through what were some pretty challenging times during the second half. But once the red card happened, I think at that point it was pretty much in the bag for Sporting KC, up a man at home against a heat-fatigued opponent.
Well, I think, yeah, you mentioned the red card there. I think you were really worried up until that point because, as you said, the Crew did a good job of really turning the pace of the game into what they wanted it to be in the second half, and that was a bit of a track meet. They brought Dominic Oduro on at halftime, and so, you know, their credit there, but I think more credit has to go to Sporting Kansas City, the back line. And yes, they had one, maybe two very good chances, but they really, really limited the number of clear-cut chances the Crew had today, and they did so in a variety of ways. Lawrence Olin was dominant in the air today, a lot like Aurelian Collin usually is. And I also thought the midfield was, and this, you know, might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but they were so smart with the fouls that they gave away in the midfield. They realized that the Crew were out to a quick break, you know, on the counterattack, and Benny Feilhaber took a yellow card when he absolutely needed to. Yuri Rosell took a foul when he needed to. Matt Beasler charged up the field 20 yards and committed a foul to kill a breakaway when he needed to. I just thought, you know, every facet of the game, every facet of defending Sporting Kansas City, they completely sold out, and they made the right decision every single play that the Crew kicked the ball around themselves. So it's just, you know, altogether a great performance from Sporting Kansas City. And again, this is an example of what can happen when a team tries to play actual soccer against Sporting Kansas City. Come on, other teams in MLS, do it. Well, doesn't it look fun what the Crew did today? I mean, it's just, and it was an entertaining game. It's better for everybody. And I know they don't care about that. They want the result, and they want to get a point at one of the toughest places to play in the league. But the Crew, at least, and to their credit, they gave themselves a chance for 3 points from the start.
913-3810810 is the number if you'd like to join us. 913-3810810. Sporting KC wins 2-0 today. And you're listening to the Final Whistle postgame show here on Sports Radio 810. Andy, I know you were here before the game as well for the ring presentation ceremony. You know, for me, it was the first time I've seen one of my teams have that in person, and that was pretty cool. Just any thoughts overall? In my opinion, I thought Sporting KC did a very nice job. The videos were cool. The fans being involved was cool. And, of course, doing it in front of the Cauldron was a no-brainer. But that was a neat moment pregame there for 20 or 30 minutes.
Well, yeah, it's not a surprise at all that Sporting Kansas City, the club, got this entire presentation right. I think what I'll say about the ring ceremony is I think they did an incredible job of, you know, not letting the fact that they got their championship rings today overwhelm them or distract them from the business at hand, which was the game. And Matt Besler sent out a tweet, it was either yesterday or Friday. He said, really can't wait for the ring ceremony on Sunday, but I'm more excited for the game. And I think just that mentality, I think they all had that today, and it showed because they came out from the start. It wasn't a slow start for Sporting Kansas City. They scored 10 minutes into the game. They're dominant from the word go. And so they use that as more as motivation than letting it be a distraction or something that you don't have before you don't even have every year. They responded, I think, very well to a situation. We see this in probably all sports. A team gets a championship ring before a game, and it's hard to refocus yourself after something like that. You're focusing again on your plaudits of last year and what you accomplished then, and then to go back to the business at hand so quickly. I was really, really impressed.
It was funny. My wife said something that, where's Jimmy Nielsen? Why didn't they bring him back? I was actually a little surprised he didn't come up here for that. I wonder if that was even discussed. I'm sure he'll get a ring.
He's actually down in Orlando right now. In Oklahoma City Energy FC, they're about to kick off.
Oh, I see. So they have a game today. I assume they had a game yesterday.
No, they're actually playing the same day. It's unfortunate that he wasn't, a Saturday game for them. But their starting lineups are actually just posted on Twitter now. So a lot of Sporting Kansas City loanees. Mikey Lopez, Christian Duke, John Kempen, whole bunch of young kids, Kevin Ellis as well. They're all about to get some minutes down there.
Scary moment, back to the game. How about the 90th minute when Matt Besler goes down and is rolling on the ground, and it looks like he's clutching his knee, and that was right in front of where I was sitting in the cauldron. And I actually wrote down here, Besler hurt bad, because that looked awful. And when Olam started stretching his leg out, that's the biggest sigh of relief I've had in a long time.
Lawrence, that's not how you fix a torn ACL.
Right.
That doesn't work. No.
I'm like, okay, thank God it's not his ACL.
Yeah, it did look bad, because sometimes those ones, and I said this with Cal, sometimes when you jump up in the air and you land on one foot, that's sometimes the worst kind of injuries. That's how you tear an ACL, just landing wrong with your entire body weight on pretty much put on one ligament for even just a brief moment. And so it was definitely scary, and not just for Sporting Kansas City, but I don't know what Jurgen's probably flying his helicopter around LA right now this afternoon. But if he's not, and if he was watching at home, he probably gasped and held his breath just a little bit. Omar Gonzalez went down with an injured knee last night as well. So not a great 24 hours to be a U.S. national team starting center back and those knees. But apparently seems that both are going to be just fine. And so 9 days, I'm not good at math, 9 days away from the U.S. national team reporting for World Cup camp. Both those guys healthy, thankfully.
So here's the question.
Yeah, I know.
Does Feilhaber get the call? I was talking to my friend. I said, I think he's very much in the mix. But, do you think at the end of the day he gets called in?
And I've said this all along, I find it hard to imagine him not being called into the initial 30-man roster. If he makes it beyond that, I don't know. I think a lot of that will depend on what he does in that camp and what kind of impression he makes on Jurgen Klinsmann, because we're deep in the midfield at this point, the U.S. national team is. And so it's going to be tough to break into that. But at the same time, there's nobody that at the moment is playing better than Benny Feilhaber. The thing that he has going against him is there's been a lot of guys that have played very well for the U.S. national team over the last year to a year and a half, and he's not been in the mix at all in that time period. So, I think it's stacked against him to make the World Cup squad. But, he's got one more game for sure, and potentially another one before Jurgen Klinsmann is going to announce his roster. I don't know if it's already decided or where he's at with that. But he's an option. He's definitely an option. He's got a different skill set, I think, than anybody else in the U.S. national team pool. And I think that makes him an appealing candidate. It makes him a serious candidate. Benny doesn't think he's going. I don't know if that's lip service. Benny just trying to stay focused on what's at hand here in Kansas City, or if he really believes that he's not going.
All right, how about this? So since the end of last year, let's say the last 6 weeks, including playoffs, Benny Feilhaber, maybe the best player on Sporting KC. A lot of people saying, okay, you have the championship last year. This year he wants to get on the World Cup team. How much of that do you think is a factor, and how much of it do you think Benny Feilhaber has finally found that consistency and found the right system, and this is the kind of player we can expect him to see for the next couple of years?
Well, it all started with that fitness that he didn't have to start 2013. He struggled so early on. He would was a 55 or 60-minute sub every single game, or he was on the bench, or he didn't play at all. Once he found that fitness and he was able to contribute on both sides of the ball, which is mandatory in Peter Vermes' system, he really took off, and he not only was successful, but he flourished, and he was a driving force of that team going on to win MLS Cup last year. So, yeah, I'd agree. I think he's, over the last 5 league games, throughout the playoffs and the first 8 league games this season, yeah, definitely the best player week in and week out for Sporting Kansas City. It's just a shame that, he wasn't able to do it earlier in 2013, which would have allowed him, I think, to be a much more prominent figure in Jurgen Klinsmann's mind in regards to the World Cup. And then at that point, he's definitely on the team.
I mean, do you feel like he's a lock when you look at Sporting KC the next couple of years, that he'll be this all-star caliber type guy week in, week out? Has he finally found his niche, or do you still have some concerns about that?
No.
I mean, consistency has always been the question with him, right? He'd go through good phases, he'd go through bad, and I know a lot of players do that, but, I mean, do you feel like he's really going to be a star for this team over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, that's what he was brought here to be, and he's finally, and it took time, granted, the fitness thing and the consistency, but he's settled into that role and that expectation. It's hard to be a new acquisition and brought over as really the centerpiece of an offseason and said, well, this guy's going to, immediately be a star, and he's going to transform the way that we're going to play and replace Roger Espinoza. Keep in mind, he was brought over on the back of Roger Espinoza leaving, and so there was a huge hole in that midfield. Different players, but he's learned to help fill that role just a little bit. So, yeah, I think over the course of the next couple seasons, definitely, and he's still young. He's 28 or 29 years old, and he doesn't have a ton of miles on his legs either, because he's never been and this isn't meant to sound harsh on Benny Feilhaber, but he's never been a hard worker on the field. In gameplay, he's always been a 60-minute guy. He's always been a really kind of a one-dimensional guy, almost as a true number 10 that really does little else. And so I think he's got a lot of legs left, and he's got a lot of miles he can still put on them for Sporting Kansas City. So I think they got him in a good time. Maybe Benny Feilhaber a year or two younger, a little less mature maybe, doesn't ever really settle into that role, doesn't find that fitness, doesn't have that same level of drive and commitment to reach the level that he's done so far last year and this year. So, yeah, I think Benny Feilhaber going forward, alongside Graham Zusi, that's as potent as a 1-2 goes in terms of MLS attacking options, midfield, anything. I don't care, regardless of positions.
I think it says a lot for how hard Benny has worked that, you're right, he was the key to the whole offseason last year, but I think we were talking about him as kind of that wild card X factor. What's he going to turn into? The good Benny, the bad Benny. And now, like you said, the expectation is he's here. He's going to be good pretty much every week. He's going to be able to go 90 minutes pretty much every week. And he's really worked hard to get to that point where he is a star on this team.
Well, and I'm going to ask you this as a point of emphasis of how important Benny Feilhaber is to this team. Let's say Benny's out for a month with, just a hamstring pull. Then who takes his place? He's at this point, he is an irreplaceable player, an irreplaceable part of this team, is he not?
Yeah, because last year the big debate was Zusi in the midfield or Zusi on the wing. I think now we found Zusi has a home, and Peter Vermes is trying to play him there every week. But at that point, Feilhaber wasn't playing great. He wasn't in shape, and there was no one else that could be that playmaker in the midfield. So I know I really was pushing for Zusi needs to play there, even though he's been good up top for this team. But you're right. Now if Zusi's stuck at a wing and if Benny's out, where does this team go? And that's kind of the direction I wanted to go towards anyway. And there's still a few days left, but, how bad does the World Cup hurt this team if Benny Feilhaber is pulled away? We know Peter Vermes, we've given him a lot of credit over the years for establishing one of the deeper rosters in the league, but now it's being tested by injuries, and it's going to really be tested by the World Cup when potentially the team's 3 best players are gone. And I know other clubs in the league are going to have to deal with that sort of stuff, but what do you foresee that playing out for Sporting KC? Because it's really only about 2 weeks away now.
Well, Matt Besler and Graham Zusi are going to miss between 5 and 8 games in league play for Sporting Kansas City.
Sounds so bad to hear it, right?
Yeah, from May 18th to potentially June 27th, depending on how far they go. What their fitness is like at the end of that. Do they need an additional week off just to rest after a World Cup? It's going to be physically and mentally and emotionally taxing for them. There's a lot of factors in play here. So, you've got Lawrence Olam, him and Colin, I think they can make that work. Olam showed very, very well today, and I was so impressed with him. He didn't try and do too much at any point in this game, and that, I think, with a player like him is when he's at his best. And so if he can continue to do that for the next month and a half, I think they're fine defensively. Chance Meyer, Sesanovic still so solid there at the two fullback spots. That helps ease and transition a guy in for a few spot starts like Lawrence Olam is going to see. Graham Zusi, I think, is the bigger miss once he's gone. You've got Sal Zizzo, obviously, who's played very well early on.
You assume Suni Saad, right, would get some more playing time?
Yeah, and it was good. I think that was an emphasis from Peter Vermes, getting him just a little action today. Like, go get your feet back wet, acclimate yourself again. There's going to be a lot of games for him. But Zizzo, for me, is the key. How quick is he going to come back from this injury that he picked up last week? I think it's pretty minor. There was questions that he might be available this week, so precautionary. Knowing Zusi's gone, they want him back for that time period. He's been so good this year. You've got C.J. Sapong, who's slowly working his way back from injury as well, is another option. Suni Saad, as you mentioned. And then you've got a wild card in a player like Antonio Davali, who has only played one game. He played as a central midfielder last week against the Revolution. And so what is he going to provide? He's going to get a chance. They're going to play, and we were talking about this during the last commercial break. They're going to play 7 games in 22 days. They're going to play over the course of the next week and a half. They're going to play 3 games in 9 days. Then they're going to play 3 in 10. Then they're going to play 3 in 9. So, this next month is going to be, forget Beasler and Zusi gone. It's going to be taxing on everyone as is. Then you take 2 of your most important players out. A lot of guys are going to have to step up. And as you said, it's not just Sporting. It's a lot of teams around the league. But as I look at some of these teams that they'll be facing in that time, Montreal Impact, no U.S. national team players. That's next week. Philadelphia Union, maybe Marisa do. We'll see what happens there. Chicago Fire, no U.S. national team players. Toronto FC, they're going to get hit real hard. Michael Bradley's going to be gone. Jermaine Defoe potentially going to be gone as well. Julio Cesar in goal for them as well will be gone. New York Red Bulls, doubtful. Tim Cahill he'll be gone. Thierry Henry's not going to play for France. Then you've got DC United. Eddie Johnson maybe going to be gone. He's probably the only one. He's probably the only one for them. So, maybe just 1-2 guys in that time period that Sporting Kansas City are going to miss out on having to play, whereas they're going to have 2 guys, potentially 3, gone for all of them.
You're just tuning in. Sporting KC won 2-0 today at Sporting Park over the Columbus Crew. They're back into first place in the Eastern Conference. And you're listening to the Final Whistle postgame show here on Sports Radio 810. Got about 5 minutes left, so we'll take your calls if you want to join us. 913-381-810, the number. Again, 913-381-810. Just one more question on this point before we move on. So if Feilhaber does go, what is that answer in the midfield? Because Zusi can't slide back there. Olam's already out in the midfield. We know Peterson Joseph's not an option. And Nagamura, who I think we all love, it looked like he had a little knock today, and he's been unable to really go months at a time with staying on the field. He's had injury trouble during his time at Sporting. So is a guy like Davali the guy that they're going to plug in and be that playmaker? Because if Benny's gone and Zusi's gone, the way things sit right now, I don't know who that guy is that can make plays in the middle of the park.
So basically you're asking me, what if one day Sporting Kansas City wake up and their 3 best players are gone? They were there the day before.
It could happen, right?
It's a horrible situation to be if you're Peter Vermes. Obviously, you're happy for the guys that they're getting this kind of recognition and opportunity to play in a World Cup if they all do. But at the same time, you've still got a job to do. You're Peter Vermes. You're manager of Sporting Kansas City, not the national team.
Yep.
It's a great feather in his cap and in his players' cap that they're all getting this acclaim. But, it's a horrible situation to be in. I think the answer, if it arises, Claudio Bieler is the first guy in line for me. He played there in the preseason, played very well.
He did, yeah.
And I don't know enough about Antonio Davali. I don't know if he can play advanced in a central location. I'm told, and everything that I've read and heard about him is he's more of a wide player at this point of his career. And so I think of him as a left winger. So I don't know if I want to see him in that position if I'm a Sporting Kansas City fan. And then you have the question of, Claudio Bieler is going to ask to do a lot more defensive work and tracking back and working in the midfield and all that. Can he be more than a 55 or 60-minute guy, which is all Benny Feilhaber was last year, and he wasn't helping the team because of it. And it wasn't even a great 55 or 60 minutes either. So, it's like any team in the world would struggle if you take their 3 best players out of it. I don't care who they are, how much money they have, what their roster looks like, but especially in MLS where you've got a salary cap, you've got X number of dollars that you can spend on players, you've got X number of roster spots as well. You've only got 30 guys, and at the moment they've got 29. So, yeah, you want, for Benny's sake, him to go, but at the same time, you don't want Sporting Kansas City to pick up 2 points over 7 games from mid-May to the end of June, do you? So it's a tricky situation, I think, for everybody involved.
All right, as we wrap up, let's look ahead a little bit to Montreal next week, 3 o'clock Saturday. We know Sporting KC just whipped Montreal 4-0 here a couple weeks ago. Montreal any better in that one? We know the home teams usually play better in their home stadium, but is that the type of game that's
music in a minute?
There's no sure thing on the road in MLS, but is that the kind of game where you expect Sporting KC to get at least a draw, a pretty good result?
No, I think they have to take all 3 points. Look, Montreal got their first win of the season a couple weeks ago against Philadelphia, and Philadelphia in that game looked very, very bad. They looked as bad as Montreal looked in the game here at Sporting Park. And so, I know it's on the road. I know it's tough in MLS to go on the road, but Sporting Kansas City have proven to be a real road able team. They can take their style on the road. They can play it at home. It doesn't matter. They can get results. They led the league in wins on the road the last 2 seasons. And so I would expect them to go up there, play their exact same way. And I think anything, and this is harsh, but this is the standard that they've set for themselves, anything but 3 points now is a disappointment, and especially if you have aspirations of a supporter shield, of defending MLS Cup, of putting yourself in a position where with Beasler and Zusi gone for a month to a month and a half, that you've got enough points early on that when you drop some, not if, when you drop some, because they will, that you can withstand a little bit of a hiccup in the middle of the season. So yeah, they have to go take 3 points, and so I completely back them to do so as well. There's nothing about Montreal that says this worries me, or they have to really be cognizant of this. There's none of that, and that's all in Montreal.
Aurelian Collin will be back.
Yep.
If Nagamura can't go, you'd think Olin would probably slide into his spot in the midfield. And if Zizo's back, I'd expect him to go in for Peterson. But otherwise, do you expect
Peterson always on the road?
Well, that's true. Peter Vermees does like him a lot, but otherwise, lineup-wise, what do you expect? Do you think Dwyer will keep starting as long as he's playing like this?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I think Peterson probably is in the lineup. Like I said, you want that work ethic on the road, and Dwyer as well, the same up top. But also, does have the ability to score a goal and find a chance. So Sporting Kansas City at the moment just playing very, very well, despite a result last week against New England. So impressed with what they did today. Impressed with Columbus as well, but for Sporting Kansas City to steal all of the accolades and the plaudits today, very, very good. Very good.
Sporting wins 2-0 today. Jacob Peterson with the game-winning goal. It was early in the 10th minute, but it held up, and Claudio Bielor put the game on ice in the 95th minute after a very unselfish assist by Graham Zusi. Eric Kronberg also exceptional in goal today.
20.
It was a special day with the ring ceremony before the game, another sellout crowd, a beautiful day weather-wise, and Sporting KC back into first place in the Eastern Conference.
10.
Thanks to Russ Pausch producing the show. For Andy Edwards, I'm Dave Borchard. Sporting KC wins 2-0 today at Sporting Park, and you've been listening to the Final Whistle postgame show.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Ray.